Hi everyone, it's CricketSong with Inner Wisdom, and I'm here today in this video to discuss offerings. So I had someone message me on Facebook and asked me if I could discuss offerings, what I usually give for offerings, what I do at the end when I need to discard them, who do I give offerings to, why do I give offerings, what's the purpose of them, and just in general asked me to discuss it. So first off, I would, and this is all my opinion, doesn't mean it's the right opinion, it's just my opinion and my experiences with offerings. So offerings are something that we gift a spiritual entity, whether that entity is a god, beloved dead, ancestors, spirit guides, angels, demons, whatever spiritual entity that is out there, you can give offerings. So it's something we give without the expectation of receiving something in return. It doesn't mean that we don't receive something in return when we give offerings, but we don't expect it. It's like a gift of gratitude. We just gift the entity something. I see offerings different from sacrifices. So sacrifices to me would be something that is given with the expectation of receiving something in return. It's like an equivalent exchange. If I'm working with a spiritual entity and they ask for something in order for them to do something that I'm requesting, then usually I see that as a sacrifice. And usually sacrifices tend to, it's the price. They tend to be a little more difficult for us to give. Maybe it takes more effort to obtain it, or maybe it's something we have that we value that we are giving with, again, that expectation that we will get something in return. That's the difference that I make between an offering and a sacrifice. Offering is a gift without expectation. Sacrifice is the cost or the price I'm paying for the spiritual entity to do my bidding. Okay, so offerings. When I did work with deity, I did give offerings to my deity. I no longer work with a personified god or goddess, but I do give offerings to my beloved dead. I do give offerings to the nature spirits that I work with. Those are generally the two types of spirits that I give offerings to. And on occasion, I give offerings to the ancestors of the witches that went before me. That I tend to do around Samhain, but on a regular basis, my beloved dead are really the spiritual entities that I leave offerings for most frequently. Why I do this, again, it's an appreciation. It's a gift. Just like when I'm shopping and I see something my daughter or my son or my husband might like, and I pick it up for them and I give it to them as a gift. It's the same sort of feelings and intentions when I leave offerings for my beloved dead. It's to establish and nurture the bond or the relationship I have with them, the energetic connection that I have with them. It's to thank them for nurturing me, for teaching me, for aiding and helping and guiding and mentoring me in the ways that they do. And what is it that I give them? Well, it really depends on the individual. So I have two individuals that I work with, my beloved dead, that I tend to work with. And each of them like different things. It very usually, frequently, the things that I give them as an offering are the things that I know they enjoyed when they were here living a physical life. Things that I generally give in offerings: coffee, alcohol, drinking alcohol, silver coins, silver $half to be precise, or Liberty dollars, American coins, cigarettes, pumpkins, flavored things, mints, candy, mints, peppermints, and just mint, peppermint and wintergreen, I guess is what it's called. Sometimes chocolate, flowers are thing, and incense. Incense is a gift, an offering I give not only to my beloved dead, but to the nature spirits as well. Now, the nature spirits, I tend to give offerings like the birds, I feed bird seed. The squirrels, I give squirrel feed. The ground I tend to cultivate and fertilize when I'm planting. I plant things as offerings to the nature spirits. I tend to a fairy garden for the nature spirits. I tend to give my own energy to the nature spirits. Sometimes I'll give rose water or things like that, but the nature spirits, there's usually everything that they want and desire within nature anyway. But I clean up, I pick up litter, I make sure things are tended to and kept safe, if that makes sense. That's what I tend to do for the nature spirits, unless I feel called to do something specific. And those offerings I give outside, because that's where I spend my time with the nature spirits. My beloved dead, I tend to leave them offerings on my altar in the area that is sort of assigned to them, to the two that I specifically work for. Sometimes I'll also light candles, but generally when I'm lighting candles for my beloved dead, it's because there is something, a working happening, and that candle is sort of like letting me know that I'm still working with it, or they're working with me on it. But that the altar is where I tend to leave their offerings. Now, those offerings that I do leave on the altar, what do I do when they have been consumed? So how they are consumed basically is the energy of that thing that I am offering is taken by the spiritual entity that I work with. So they may not eat the physical cookie or candy bar that I leave, but the energy that that candy bar or that cookie is made of is consumed by the spiritual entity. So when that has been completed, then what do I do with that cookie that is left, or that candy bar that is left? Generally, I take it outside and I return it to the earth. Sometimes it's burying it. Sometimes the cookie is already crumbling and I can just sprinkle the crumbs out on the yard. Alcohol that I leave tends to evaporate. Water that I leave, rose water or oil sometimes, those things tend to evaporate over time. Cigarettes that I may leave, if I don't light it and let it be consumed by the fire and be sort of smoke, then I will take the cigarette and I will bury it in the backyard, again returning it to the earth. I have a compost bin. Sometimes I'll put some of those things that are compostable or biodegradable into the compost bin. Again, that is eventually returned to the earth, but it depends. So I look at what I'm leaving as an offering and find ways to return the physical form back to the earth. Now, silver coins, or if I were to leave dollar bills or money that I leave as an offering, the few silver dollars and half dollars that I have are still left there. That money is tagged for an offering, and I would never use it to go purchase something. So I am mindful of what I'm leaving as a money offering. If I do give that money to, if I'm going to use it to buy something, I will donate it to someone in need. So there's plenty of homeless around here, or I can donate it to, during the winter, the Salvation Army or whatever. I will take that money and donate it to someone else. I personally will not spend it on me because I feel like I've given up that money. I don't want to take it back. And if I were to spend it on me, it would be like taking back something I offered. So I wouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean that you can't. That's just, I wouldn't do that. And that's my thought process behind that. Things that I give to my gods when I was working with gods and goddesses: incense, flowers, alcohol, water, things that I found out in nature that I found interesting, other than flowers. And then it would depend on what the god asked or liked. You know, if I looked at the mythology of the specific god I was working with, and I found that traditionally a specific oil was given to that god, I might do that if I felt called to. But again, it really would depend on my relationship with that specific god, just as it depends on my relationship with that specific spiritual entity and what I am informed that they would like, or what they would desire, what they want. And I get those messages through meditations and dreams, or divination. If I'm pulling cards and ask, what would my grandmother like? You know, pull cards and or do a pendulum or whatever form of divination I'm using and see what it is that they might ask of me. So that's everything I have in regards to offerings. I would love to hear if you leave offerings, what do you offer your spiritual entities that you work with? What do you offer your gods? What do you offer your beloved dead? What do you offer your the ancestors? What things do you offer? If you can share, I'd love to hear about it. So until the next time, I love you. Blessed be. Mwah.